Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. As we're heading into the weekend, we had a little bit of price action, but overall no major resistance levels have been broken. So we're going to take a look at that and we also take a look at the bullish as well as bearish scenarios because today's price action maybe has been confusing for some of you. So we try to unravel that and try to understand where we are. First of all, we want to understand where are we on the daily time frame. And here nothing has changed. We are still tracking bullish structures to the upside of the November high, unchanged for months. Okay, so this could be either a 1-2, 1-2 setup, or we have all of this as a wave 1 and we are now in a larger wave 2 correction. Okay, and in this wave 2 I would rather prepare for a deeper pullback. Yeah, just from a risk management point of view. And the ideal structure here for this pullback is a WXY structure. In such a Y wave, we have an A wave already completed. This here is likely a B wave rally and the C wave downward move can still follow. That C wave move to the downside doesn't need to follow. It is technically possible that a lasting low has been established here. On the 11th of September, we had at the time the daily relative strength index oversold again. As I always say, the daily RSI oversold on the Bitcoin chart is a very reliable buy signal. It's not Elliott Wave, but it is an indicator that has been very, very reliable in the past. Even if it's not following through in the end, but it typically leads to a more or less substantial corrective rally or more, something more bullish. So that means primarily we're still watching for more downside until we have enough evidence to say that a lasting low has been established. How can we say a lasting low has been established? Well, that needs to be a 5-wave move to the upside and a 3-wave pullback. How long those 5 waves are, that is very hard to say. My view is if we really follow through to the upside, which is still a likely option, it could take us to around 30K. Okay, ultimately, possibly leading here to a head and shoulders pattern. And then the move down. And this B wave could just be the right shoulder. As I said, however, the low could of course be in, right? But I cannot confirm that to you without having the evidence on the chart. So to get the evidence, we are focusing on the lower time frames. And now we go to the lower time frame wave count. Here, this is now the 1-hour chart. And we're taking a look at the short-term bearish and short-term bullish scenario. This is again just the 1-hour chart. You need to understand that here we have a lot of fluctuations, especially in the current price range. Shouldn't be a surprise because I mentioned many times to you that we're basically in no man's land a little bit. Yeah, it's sort of, we're just about to either break down or rally from here. So it's a very, very important inflection point, very critical decision point here. That the price is currently in, and this is important to understand. So the fight between bulls and bears is very, very visible here. It's very evident, especially here in this price region, which is sort of sitting here between, you could say, 27K and 28.5K. This is very, very evident that the bulls and the bears are really, really fighting here. So if you don't want to get caught out in the whipsaw, just zoom out a little bit, okay, and trade a higher time frame maybe. So short-term bearish scenarios. We have 2. In the short-term bearish scenario, number 1, which is the most imminent one, we bottomed in an A wave on the 17th of August, WXY structure in a B wave. The A wave bottomed here. This is the B wave. And we could now follow through to the downside in a C wave. The 1-2 setup might have happened, and we could break down from here. Would need further evidence, and a break below 27K would give us further evidence that this is the structure that's playing out. That's short-term bearish number 1. Short-term bearish number 2 is that we simply get one more high. If we get a break above resistance, which is at $28,300, then we could get one more high. But even with one more high, we could still have a B wave. A B wave is a corrective rally. It would just not be a WXY structure. It would be a so-called A, B, C flat structure. And that can take us to 30K. maybe even a little higher. I mean, it's sort of, it's not an impulse, so it's a very, very choppy structure, very hard to say where it will take us to, but I would pay attention to roughly 30K. And then it can still take us down. Therefore, short-term bearish, even though we get one more high, but it's just a minor move to the upside and can still, after that one more high, lead to a breakdown. So these are the short-term bearish options. Short-term bullish is also that we get the 5 waves up, but the difference is that we get a 3-wave pullback afterwards. And if we can see that in the pullback structure, then we can define a long trade support area, okay? So if you don't want to get caught in the chop, I mean, just wait for clarity. Yeah, and that's, one more high again to 30K, and then we just take it from there. There is a little bit more bullishness possible. Looked at that today. This could also be, let me think. This could also be a 1-2, A, B, and then a C wave could take us a little higher. But that would also rather be bearish. I mean, also within a bearish structure. So it's a very complex count. I mean, I'm observing various counts in the background. If I was showing you every wave count that I'm observing, I mean, you wouldn't be able to follow, we would have to make it an hour-long video every day. So I always try to pin it down to the most likely scenario. Also, it doesn't make any difference because it's really about understanding what's the breakout point to the downside and what's the breakout point to the upside. So let's zoom in a little bit further. Maybe let's go to the 30-minute chart. Obviously, the short-term bearish, the more direct bearish path has become a little less likely with today's price action and push to the upside. In my first video, I warned you today, or second video it was, I warned you today that the price did not follow through to the downside. We only had 3 waves down, found support here at the 1.38 retracement and rallied and reset wave 2. Now, I will have to take out the lower degrees, and in the yellow wave count, the best I can offer here is that yellow circle wave 2 reset. Okay, so we had a reset of circle wave 2, price reacted to the 78.6 retracement level, and basically we're in the same situation in which we were yesterday, and from here a third wave breakdown could follow. I would be careful with short positions over the weekend. I would also be careful with short positions because the price broke above micro resistance and is maxing out resistance. So you can see that choppiness, typical whipsaw action, and the fight between the bulls and the bears is very evident. Yeah, and it's even though it's rather unclear, this microstructure, it is fairly clear, what we need to focus on. So it's very simple. Below resistance, below $28,300, we focus on lower. Above the pivot point, above 28,300, we focus on higher towards the 30K area. And if we have 5 waves up, then we have a first more or less reliable structure, and then we can look forward to the ABC pullback, okay? So very, very important. Probabilities are very balanced here, okay? So someone commented in the previous video, if I couldn't be a bit more clear which one is going to work out, I don't know, it's the market. You can see very clearly that the value in the TA is to understand the pivot points, okay? The pivot points, the targets, understand both scenarios and position yourself accordingly. But be aware that at the moment probabilities are just very balanced. You see that in the price structure. Whipsaw price action, choppy price action. The market can't even decide, right? So I can't tell you what, I have to ask my crystal ball, which obviously doesn't exist. So the value of the technical analysis is to understand here these constantly evolving probabilities. If you want to be up to date throughout the day, I mean, check out our gold membership. It's great value, and I update really various times a day in between the videos what, in my opinion, the relevant levels are. And if they break, obviously it counts as a breakout, okay? At the moment, the probabilities are fairly balanced, and they have been for a few weeks. And we talked about that before. It shouldn't be a surprise because I mentioned to you that we are basically in no man's land. I mentioned that the first time when I think when we broke out here, when was it? Doesn't matter. I think it was here on the 1st of October, right? Basically roughly a week ago. And I explained to you, if we go up there, hey, we will be in no man's land. The situation will be rather unclear because we haven't filled in the white wave count, but the previously defined yellow wave count was basically getting invalidated. So it's doing exactly what we said, okay, that we will be in this sort of very, very unclear territory. And you see that in the price action. So that is the value of the analysis, to know that, and then you can make the right decisions for your portfolio, maybe even trade with smaller positions, not trade at all until we get a clearer structure, okay? So that can save you money, absolute money it can save you. Yeah, unless you want to be caught in the price in the whipsaw action. I mean, yeah, that's where we are. So it's just doing what we told you. Basically, the market would be in which situation the market would be in. It can't decide above that breakout point here that we had. I think it was it 27K or something. We knew that the market would likely be in a very, very uncertain state. Anybody who's been watching the videos for the last couple of days, last couple of weeks, will know that this was a critical level. When it was broken, it did take us into no man's land. Yeah. And we had a very, very clear bearish setup today that worked, okay, twice. I mean, this one worked, and then the other support resistance broke as well. No, it didn't break. It led to the move to the downside, but we had a lack of follow through. Now, as an analyst, you have to use that information wisely and interpret the price action. And that means that we have to absolutely be very ready for a bullish breakout, because if the bears can't follow through, the bulls might see their chance and then take the lead. But let's see what happens over the weekend. So yeah, that's my update about Bitcoin. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. We also launched our stocks and share service this week. It includes daily updates about the S&P 500 and regular updates about 20 stocks and shares. Depending on which tier you're choosing, you also get requests and additional stocks. So you might want to check it out if you're interested in anything else than crypto, yeah, in stocks, the S&P, the broader market, then yeah, check that out. If not, then yeah, just focus on crypto, and hope you have a great weekend. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.